Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today we're continuing our discussion on Upadesh, Upakhyane, Upadesh, nectar instructions from the stories, as told by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The story today was once about a landlord who wanted to see the sun at night, and his various cabinet members who were there simply to flatter the landlord were saying, "Yes, what a brilliant idea! No one has thought of this before. Surely we'll be able to show you the sun at night." So then they started bringing in various ideas on how they could do it. One brought a lantern and started shining it in the sky, and then another group said, "No, that will never work. We'll have to get the candlelight of 1,000 candles in order to see the sun." And then some more scientific ones started to put together an electrical arrangement in order to try to reveal the sun at night. And then finally, one of the more intelligent cabinet members, one of the more intelligent ministers, told the landlord, "My dear sir, it's not possible to see the sun at night. The only way to see the sun is to wait for the sunrise. And when you see the sunrise, then you'll be able to see the sun. Only the sun can reveal itself, not through any other mechanical arrangement." The story Srila Prabhupada used to tell very frequently. And it gives emphasis on how Krishna is not approachable by our empiric endeavor of knowledge and inductive reasoning. As it's said in Upanishads, Nayam Pravacha Naneva Labhyo Na Shutena. Evatasti Vinutena Labhyas Tasyasya Atma Vinuteta Nuswam. Nayam Atma Pravacha Yena Labhyo Na Medya Na Bahu Na Shutena. Eva Savi Vinutena Labhyas Tasyatma Atma Vinuteta Nuswam. That Krishna cannot be understood by any amount of scholarship. Krishna cannot be understood by any amount of physical research. He cannot be understood by even a great intellect, or even from hearing from many, many people for a very long time. The only way Krishna can reveal himself is through his own self, if he chooses to reveal himself. And actually, the whole process of devotional service is like this. When we generally meet people in preaching, we explain very lofty topics, such as the body being different from the soul, and that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's non-different from his name. But generally, we'll find in the course of our preaching, many times we can only explain so much, and then at one point, we see the necessity for them just to apply the process. This application of the process of the devotional service is what reveals the truth of devotional service. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojata Janadasyasya Vairagyam Yanam Shad Yadahoitukam. That through the process of engaging in bhakti, devotional service, one comes in direct contact with the knowledge of devotional service and a sense of detachment which comes from our prolonged association with the various modes of material nature which we have acquired from various types of sensory experience, of which that knowledge which is of the most importance, which is of the most value, is that knowledge which is extremely confidential. Jnanam paramaguhyam me. That confidential knowledge, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vidyam Raja Guhyam, Pravitram Idam Uttamam, Prakyaksha Vagam Dharmyam, Susukam Kartamavayam. In order for it to be fully appreciated, one has to experience it for themselves. And as we know, there's various departments of knowledge in Krishna consciousness. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva R, Rasa Tattva, Lila Tattva, Bhava Tattva Sar. That there's various categories of truth which need to be understood, and in order to actually make progress on the spiritual path, it's essential that we are dutiful and diligent in trying to understand those various truths. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattataha. Tattva turnam pranam janma naiti mamati sorjana. Krishna says that those who understand my birth and my appearance, they attain me. So we're in a bit of a predicament in this material condition of life because our senses are limited. We're controlled by various impressions and prejudices of our previous material association. And this handicaps and stifles our ability to perceive transcendence. And the only way to enter into that realm of transcendence is through a mood of humble service. Amani manadena kirtaniya sadahari. When Raghunath Das Goswami was living in Jagannath Puri with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he received very few instructions directly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the instruction which really is informative to us of how Krishna consciousness becomes a reality, Mahaprabhu spoke this Trinadapi Sunichana verse in the following way: Amani Mandanahan Krishna Saralabe. Radha Krishna Seva Manase Karibe. Vraje Radha Krishna Seva Manase Karibe. That offer all respects to others and take no respect for yourself, and always be engaged in chanting the holy names of Krishna. And within your mind, serve Radha and Krishna. So what does this mean for us? That we have to have a mood of respect. We have to have a mood of pridelessness. We have to have an attachment for constantly chanting the holy name. And by doing that, we'll be able to qualify ourselves for serving Krishna. But if we don't have the internal purity to serve Krishna internally, we need to qualify ourselves for that service. And what is the way to qualify ourselves for that service? Yata yata gora parada vinde vindeta bhaktim kritapunya rasa. We have to take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically means engaging in the Yuga Dharma of Sankirtan. One of the principles of one of the truths which has to be understood in the course of our devotional service is Vedanti tat tatva vidas tatvam yaj gyanamadvayam rameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdite. We have to come to understand Krishna and his various manifestations and be able to perceive for ourselves Krishna in those manifestations in order for our faith to become fixed. And with that fixity of faith, our determination to want to love and serve Krishna becomes extremely strong. So we have to learn to perceive Krishna, but perceiving Krishna is not possible without a service attitude. And one of the ways we can directly perceive Krishna is by engaging in the Yuga Dharma. In the Bhagavad Gita, at the end of it, it says, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Yanfamam Shant Ishvara Sarvabhutanam
Sarjuna. Vedar Sarjuna.
What's that?
Vedar Sarjuna.
There's Arjuna. I'm skipping on it. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Rite Dashjuna Tishtati Brahmayam Sarvabhutani Yantrarudrani Mayaya. That Krishna is situated within the heart of every single living entity, and he's directing the wanderings of all living entities. But how are we actually to perceive this? Because under the spell of the material energy, kartaham iti manyate, we're considering ourselves to be the doer. And inherent within that understanding of thinking ourselves the doer, we think other people are also the cause of their own activities as well. So as we go through the world, we see ourselves as independent agents, and we see everyone else as independent agents. So how do we realize that Krishna is situated within the heart of every living entity? How do we actually go into the depth of perceiving Krishna's presence in every moment, in every interaction, in every person that we meet? Krishna gives the answer in the next verse. Tameva smaranam gacha. Surrender unto him utterly. We have to surrender to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we understand from the Bhagavad Gita that when that mood of surrender is being cultivated within the heart, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Krishna begins to give us direction from within. And the easiest way to tune into this direction which is being given by Krishna, to tune in to perceiving the presence of Krishna within ourselves and within everyone, is to the process of going out and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. This is how the sun reveals itself. It's not that, we engage in, some puja or some yagya or some fire sacrifice. As the Bhagavatam explains, when the sages of Namasharanya were sitting around the yagya stali at Namasharanya, the only result which they were getting is they were becoming black from all the smoke. So there's various ideas on how we should push on the Krishna consciousness movement. Maybe we need new administrative tactics. Maybe we need to, build more temples, this or that. And all these things are great. They should be there. But when dealing with the many, we can't forget the one. What was the thing which Srila Prabhupada emphasized would actually expand the Krishna consciousness movement on a ground level? Was the distribution of his books. And when we go out and we actually distribute Srila Prabhupada's books and we cultivate this mood of Tam eva smaranam gacha, we surrender unto him utterly, then what takes place is we actually begin to perceive the intelligence of Krishna guiding us on Sankirtan. If we're able to overcome this kartahamiti manyate, if we're able to go out there without any motive, we're not doing it for the purpose of having a big book score, we're not doing it for the purpose of, getting the Mahaprasad plate, whatever it may be, completely free from the desire for the fruits of activity, then what happens is one tunes in to Krishna guiding all living entities. Upadrastanu mantamcha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaram Parameti Chapiyukto Dehi Smim Purusapara. And then when one goes out on book distribution, one perceives that yes, I'm meeting people and people are taking books because of the dictation of Krishna from within me, and the dictation of Krishna from within them. And any book distributor who has gone out and spent some good hours in the street, anyone will testify to being distributing books and people coming up to them and saying, hey, what is that you have there? I feel like I'm supposed to buy that. I'd like to tell a story which happened yesterday. Recently, we've been distributing books in the swap meets of Los Angeles. We've been going to all these indoor swap meets, mostly Spanish people. And so yesterday, Kira Chor and I went out, and what I'm doing is I go on my Google Maps, and I just type in indoor swap meet, and there's about a list of 30 or 40 of them all over LA. So I picked the one that was closest because we'd been driving long distances for the past week, so I decided we can go to one closer. So yesterday we went to Bonita Swap Meet. Now, when I put it in, I don't know the Los Angeles area very well, but Kira Chora Gopinath, he grew up here, and he knows very well the demographics and the socioeconomic conditions of different parts of LA. And when he saw where we were going, Bonita Swap Meet, he said, "Oh, we're going to MacArthur Park." And then I didn't know what that meant. And I said, yeah, we haven't gone there yet, so let's just go check it out. And he said, all right. So as we were driving in, as we got off the exit and we started driving towards MacArthur Park on Alavardo Boulevard, things were starting to become clear the type of neighborhood MacArthur Park was in. There was more tents coming up. There was more poverty. And as I was driving, as anyone who's been to Tijuana before, I felt like we were entering into Mexico. And then I felt like we were entering into India, not just any part of India, the slums of Mumbai. And then as we were driving thicker, I didn't even feel like we were in Mumbai anymore. I felt like we were in Mumbai with a heroin addiction. It was completely bizarre, the place that we ended up. And this is in, and on top of it all, the swap meet which we were supposed to distribute was at the epicenter of all of this. So I told Kirachor, all right, let's circle around the block a few times because I kind of want to get an idea of what this place is. And the only thing that was going on there was people doing drugs, selling drugs, stealing to get drugs, or selling stolen goods, which were sold to the vendors on the basis of drug addicts stealing those things. So everything was centering around this fentanyl epidemic, which is taking place in Los Angeles right now. And this MacArthur Park happened to be the cynosure or the epicenter of that epidemic. So I called Brigupati Pabhu and I said, Brigupati Pabhu, this is where we are. Could you give some insight on what we should do? I said, have you ever been here before? He said, oh yeah, it's the most degraded place in Los Angeles. So then I said, well, do you think it's safe? He said, yeah, it's broad daylight. You should be okay. So we parked our car, and the first thing that happened is Kirachor got out and he was packing his bag, and someone came up and said, hey man, do you have a cigarette? And then Kirachor said, no, I don't have a cigarette. And then he asked, do you have $1? Kirachor said, no, I don't have $1. And then the guy said, well, do you want some crystal meth? So Kirachor is like, no, that's okay, but thank you for being so nice. And the guy kind of continued on. So we got out, and basically my whole idea is let's just get into the swap meet. Let's not deal with the street scene. Once we're in the swap meet, it will be a little bit more mellow. So we crossed the street, we went inside the swap meet, we started distributing books, and we finished the swap meet maybe in like 20 minutes. There wasn't so many shops inside. But then something really amazing happened. When we were inside the swap meet, I passed this guy, and he looked like a Middle Eastern man, and he looked like he was a little bit busy. But when I passed him, he said, hey, you got any books for Muslims? And I turned around, I said, actually, yeah, I do. And I gave him a Science of Self-Realization. And he took a Science of Self-Realization and gave a donation. And then when we got back out on the street, Kirachor and I were walking, and then I turned around and I noticed Kirachor wasn't behind me anymore. I said, oh my God, where did he go? So then I look back, and Kirachor is speaking with someone, and he's telling him a book. And then I asked him, so what happened? How did he stop you? He said, oh, well, he tapped me on the shoulder and asked me who I was. And then he asked for a book. And then when we were getting ready to cross the street to go back to our car, there was these two guys standing on the corner who looked like drug dealers. And he saw me, and I was kind of keeping my eyes on the pavement, trying not to look at anyone. And he said, hey, Hare Krishna, respect, brother. Can I have one of those? And I said, yeah. So I walked over to him, I gave him a Science of Self-Realization, and he was a tall African-American man who looked really scary. And I was questioning myself, should I even ask him for a donation? But then I felt, no, this is my duty. I'm a brahmachari. I have to ask for a donation. So then I said, can you please give a donation for that? And sure enough, he took out his wallet and he gave a donation. My point that I'm trying to draw from this is that when we go out on book distribution, Krishna reveals himself to us. Krishna reveals how he's within the heart of every living entity. And as Kirachor and I were leaving, we were just reflecting how, although this atmosphere is so covered by the modes of material nature, and people are so far from Krishna, because those people had come to the human form of life, labante labas durlaba idam bahusam bhavante manusyam arthadam anityam apihadira, that because they've attained the human form of life, that opportunity to attain that rare treasure of Krishna consciousness is inherently within them. They have the opportunity to do it. But their propensity for it will not come out unless we go out. Unless we go out and meet people. And then what will take place is when the devotees enter into the forum of a particular area, Krishna begins to inspire the people in that area from within the heart to become spiritually inclined at that particular moment just by seeing the devotees. And the people who are ready, the people who have previous association, Krishna will prompt them, do something about it. So when we go out, we're giving people the opportunity to connect with Krishna. And when we please Krishna in this way, when we serve the spiritual master in this way, then Krishna begins to reveal himself to us. By and by, Krishna reveals himself fully. Sarvasya chaham hridisani Vishnu matat spritir jnanam apodhahamsha. Krishna gives us full knowledge of how he's controlling all living entities. The only thing we have to do is get out of the way, get our mental hangups out of the way, get our preconceived notions out of the way, and let Krishna do the work and perceive the divine intelligence of Krishna, arranging everything through his feature of Paramatma to help people become Krishna conscious. So if we want to see the sun rise in the sky, we have to go out and give everyone the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness through the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books, through Harinam Sankirtan, through Prasadam, and we qualify ourselves to do that service by having a strict standard of sadhana, waking up early, chanting our rounds, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, only taking prasadam, not eating food cooked by non-devotees, following the simple basic principles strictly, we become qualified to preach Krishna consciousness. And then when we go out and give Krishna consciousness to others, it will have an effect, without a doubt. We just have to learn to get out of our own way, follow the simple path strictly, and in this way we can become empowered to give Krishna consciousness to the most unique and far-flung individuals. Hare Krishna.
I think he's waiting for questions if anybody.
Yeah, we can take questions or reflections. We have a nice discussion at this time, so I wanted to give some time for the discussion.
Go ahead, Deva.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandot Pranam. Prabhuji, I really like the point, like in the beginning you mentioned, Krishna can only be understood, if he plans to reveals himself. Any amount of knowledge or any amount of service may not be fruitful. And also the book distribution story you said, that was so surreal, like I'm just thinking like, how Krishna is arranging everything, like whether you thought about the donation and how instead of I mean, you are approaching them, they are approaching you. That was so empowering, and it feels so good, like thank you for sharing that story for me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Devavatha Pabhu, Hare Krishna.
Chakra-pran Prabhu, my obeisances.
Please accept mine. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you for such an enthusiastic presentation. I was on the edge of my seat hearing about your book distribution adventures. It really brought it to life and illustrated the points you made earlier. So I thought that was really effective and really enjoyed hearing those stories. Thank you for walking to earth. Thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for your service to Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for sharing today.
Hare Krishna. Vijay Prabhu, I'm sure you're a wealth of all these types of experiences. We'd like to hear from you.
Nice class. I have nothing to say. Sorry.
Maybe you can say something about book distribution, Prabhu. I'm always eager to hear you speak about book distribution.
Well, you touched on this verse. You know that verse, Labhante Brahma Nirvana?
Yeah. I almost spoke it. Labhante Brahma Nirvana. Rishanaik Shina Karmasa. Shida Daitva Yadatmanam. Sarva Bhuta Hridayrata.
That's such an amazing verse. my favorite verse now, you know, the Bhagavad Gita.
I think that's been your favorite verse since I've known you, Vijay.
Oh no, I haven't known the verse that long. But yeah, we have to have faith, whatever Krishna arranges. This is his arrangement. Yesterday I was distributing books at what is that? Where we have the right now?
Lincoln Plaza.
Yeah,
Palo Alto.
it's tough.
Hmm.
Like Santa Monica, your favorite spot.
Yeah, like Santa Monica.
But you gotta just, it's one of those spots also. You got a lot of prayer. You gotta take shelter of Krishna a lot. So the last person to come up to the table, like I couldn't believe it. You know, just hardcore looking businessman. You know, he came to the table and showing the book. He said, yeah, I'll give it. Yeah, I'll give a donation. Yeah. And he was flipping through some ones and fives, and I said, yeah, a lot of people give anywhere between, you know, he had a Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I said, yeah, typically people give anywhere between 20 and 30. Well, you give what you can. So he was flipping through it. He ended up giving me $50.
Wow.
I was shocked. Yeah. So yeah, Upadesh Manta Cha, Krishna's in the hearts of everyone, and he's directing. And if we're sincere, then Krishna, he sends people. Yeah. This verse, sometimes I chant this verse like japa on book distribution.
Upadrasthanam
Upadasthanamanta Bharta Bhakti Maheshwara. Krishna's in the hearts of everyone. He's directing the wanderings of everyone. So we just have to connect with Krishna, and amazing things happen. The magic of Krishna, the mystic potency of Krishna.
Yesterday, after we left that horrible place, we went to another swap meet, which was quite large. We were there for about a good 2.5, 3 hours, just speaking to all the vendors. And everyone was taking a book. Literally every single vendor took a book. I was completely shocked. There was one particular action which was really meaningful. I was walking through, and there was this salon, and generally my experience with salons is they're really busy cutting hair. They don't really want to get so much into a conversation. And then, so I walked in. I was actually across, and the lady saw me, and I saw her. And the lady who was cutting the hair, she like started to light up, and she like almost looked completely amazed that I was there. And so I went up. What's that?
Dodi and Kurta?
Yeah, I was going in Dodi and Kurta. And I walked up and I gave her the books and I explained it, and then her customer started to speak to me in English. I was speaking to a lady in Spanish, and my Spanish isn't so great. I don't understand it. I can speak a little. And so the lady started to explain that we've just been talking only about this whole time since she's been cutting my hair. This is the only thing we've been talking about. Her daughter is like a yoga instructor, the lady who's cutting the hair that isn't speaking English. Her daughter is like a just finished yoga teacher training. And so the lady who's cutting the hair, she was really liking to learn about all these different concepts of yoga. And so when I gave them the books, they were both so elated. And the hair cutting lady gave 20. I mean, she gave 30. And then the lady who was getting her hair cut gave 20. And they both took a big set of books.
Joy.
Anyone else have anything to say? We have many exalted devotees here. Adinath Krishna Prabhu. Is Vishal there?
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. I'm just out of the frame.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, I had one question. I'm not sure if it's an appropriate question. See, you spoke a lot about depending on Krishna today, but Prabhupada also wanted us to be more ambitious. So how can we be ambitious in our. It could be preaching goals. It could also be in some goals we want to achieve, so that it facilitates our bhakti process. Maybe getting a reasonable position and so on. How do we maintain that ambition as well as complete dependence on Krishna at the same time? It seems like one is depending more on our own ability, and one is depending on Krishna. So how do we?
Well, desire is one of the features which Krishna has gifted the living entity with, which the living entity can control, or at least begin to transform. So Srila Prabhupada often speaks about transforming desire, and how this tree of Upayo, Upayor, let's see, what is that verse in Bhagavad Gita?
Ubayora Vidrishantas.
Urvam malam adashaktam ashvatam prabhuravayam shadasmi yasya pranami yastam veda savedavit. That there's this banyan tree of the material world which has to be cut at the root, asanga shastrena jayena chidva. And Srila Prabhupada explains that what's keeping us in this material world is our desire. Krishna consciousness isn't about abandoning desire, but it's about transforming desire. So we should desire for Krishna, we should plan for Krishna, we should use our intelligence to want to serve Krishna, but when it comes to execution, we should work diligently and methodically, and then the result we should completely leave in Krishna's hands. Generally, the only reason why we're attached to the result is because we have some stake in it. We have some stake of our identity within it. I want to be seen as a great preacher. I want to be seen as a great book distributor. I want to be seen as a great pujari. This whole personal ambition. Srila Prabhupada said that personal ambition is the poison. There's two sides, Maya and Krishna, and personal ambition is the poison. So some personal ambition is what makes us attached to the fruits of our activity. But if there's no personal ambition and we're just serving for the sake of pleasing the spiritual master, then one can desire unlimitedly, one can work as hard as they like, and they'll never be disappointed, because that contemplation and that endeavor is the success of their work, because they're being engaged in the service of their spiritual master in the Guru Parampara. But one becomes disappointed and one becomes obstructed in their empowerment when there's any tinge of personal ambition mixed in with the equation.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Vijay, I think one of your favorite verses is this Nirmana moho jata sanga doso adhyatma nitya vinivritta kaman vaver vimukta sukaduka sagnar kachapya mudha paramadvayam tat. I think that's one of your verses. You quote this a lot in your classes.
One of my favorites, yeah. You've listened to a lot of my classes, I think. It's a great verse.
That's the key, I feel, the meditation on that verse. Meditation on that verse is key to acting without a fruitive disposition, without a personal ambition. Nirmana moho jata sanga dosha means acting without pride. There's nothing in it for us. We're just simply trying to serve. As Srila Prabhupada said, my policy was always everything for Krishna, nothing for me. Is that okay, Vishal?
Perfect. Yes, bro. Thank you.
Harinath Krishna Prabhu? Anyone? If not, we'll stop.
Devavatha Prabhu, please
Oh,
accept
Hare
my humble
Krishna.
obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
My obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada.
I appreciate the nectar that you extracted it was reminding me of this verse here in regards to the sun. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 14, 26 verbatim, the conception of material bondage and the conception of liberation are both manifestations of ignorance. Being outside the scope of true knowledge, they cease to exist when one correctly understands that the pure spirit soul is distinct from matter and always fully conscious. At that time, bondage and liberation no longer have any significance, just as day and night have no significance from the perspective of the sun. There's only darkness when Krishna is not there, and it was reminding me of the verse as you were speaking about the epicenter of ignorance over there near that swap meet. And every time we go out, we have a chance to give this knowledge to someone that they can realize it themselves. And that is one thing that Maharaj would say also, is that everyone's wandering around, and either they know or they don't know their true identity. And for those that know, they can strengthen their relationship with Krishna specifically. And then don't, then Chikitsidam, provide them that remedial measure. And he goes on to say in one of his 10 quotes, does Guru Maharaj, about his transformational sayings, is that the senses are the sole cause of one's bondage to this material world. However, the same senses, when used therapeutically, become the source of liberation. And I was reminded of that when you were talking about the sun. And it's really about realizing it. Same body, same set of senses and so forth, instruments, a different mindset. And just listening earlier today to His Grace Vaisheshika Maharaj recorded lecture from past, in 7:13:9 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada purports, within 3 sentences he repeats 2 twice. Our only concern is to attract people to Krishna consciousness. We may do this in the dress of a sannyasis or in the regular dress of gentlemen. He closes with, our only concern is to spread interest in Krishna consciousness. So it was reminding me a few points as you were reflecting on some of your personal experiences and how you referenced the Shastra very expertly also by memory and by realization. I appreciate these few comments. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you all very much. Did Konta Karnava get his visa?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji, he got his visa, yeah.
Wonderful.
That's why he went to get his visa.
No, he has plans to attend multiple programs, like by Radheshyam Prabhu, then in Mayapur, then...
He had an interview, a visa interview, which was one of the main reasons why he had to go.
Yeah, so he
And
got
part
it.
of that trip, he's doing other things as well. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And a special thank you to Vijay Prabhu for being so humble to be able to listen to me. I should be listening to you. But thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarumvisya kripasindevacha patitanam bhavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namo.
He stayed here before, huh?